My girlfriend declared, "My ex is coming to our party. Be cool, or it's over." I replied, "I'll be very cool." Then I greeted him at the door, shook his hand, and said, "She's all yours, man." I was just leaving. Her party ended the moment I walked out. I, 28 male, am an architect, and if there is one thing my job has taught me, it is that structural integrity is everything. You can paint a building, put up a fancy facade, and decorate the lobby with expensive art, but if the foundation is cracked, it is only a matter of time before the whole thing comes down. Up until last Saturday, I thought I was building a solid life. I own my condo, I have a career I grinded for, and I thought I had a partner who was on the same page. Turns out I was just the guy paying for the renovation on a condemned building. Let me give you the lay of the land so you understand why I did what I did. I have been with my girlfriend, 26 female, for just over a year. She moved into my place about 10 months ago. The arrangement was simple. I cover the mortgage, utilities, and the boring heavy lifting of bills. She covers her student loans and the fun stuff. I was fine with this. I make good money, and I wanted to take care of her. I wanted to be the guy who made her life easier. She is, or was, charismatic, the kind of person who lights a room but burns through oxygen to do it. She had this ex-boyfriend. Let's call him the ex. They dated for 4 years on and off before me. According to her, it was a trauma bond. She told me he was toxic, manipulative, and that she had blocked him on everything. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I'm a secure guy. I don't go snooping through phones or interrogating people about their past. Her 26th birthday was coming up, and she wanted a blowout. I agreed to host it at our place. I dropped about $3,000 on this party. I'm talking custom catering, a mixologist I hired to man the bar, decorations that cost more than my first car, the works. I spent 2 weeks planning this thing while balancing a massive deadline at the firm. The day of the party, I was running on caffeine and adrenaline. I was in the kitchen prepping the final hors d'oeuvres, making sure the ice buckets were full, checking the lighting. It was 2 hours before guests were supposed to arrive. She walked into the kitchen. She looked incredible, I won't lie. She was wearing this emerald green gown I had bought her as an early birthday gift. But the vibe was off. She wasn't looking at me. She was scrolling on her phone, shoulders tight, avoiding eye contact. "Hey," she said, her voice doing that weird high-pitched thing she does when she's guilty. "So, I need to tell you something. I invited the ex." I stopped chopping the limes. I actually put the knife down because my hands went cold. "Excuse me?" "I invited him," she said, a little louder, finally looking at me but with her chin tilted up, defensive. "He reached out to wish me a happy birthday. We got to talking. We're trying to be mature adults about everything. He's a huge part of my past, and I want all the people who shaped me to be here tonight." I took a breath. "You told me that guy made your life miserable. You told me he was toxic. And frankly, the one time I met him, he was completely disrespectful to me. I'm not comfortable with him being in my house, especially not for your birthday." She didn't apologize. She didn't try to compromise. She just crossed her arms and delivered the line that effectively ended our relationship, though she didn't know it yet. "It's our house," she said, which is incorrect, as my name is the only one on the deed. "And he is coming. I already told him it was okay. So, be cool. I mean it. If you cause a scene or make him feel unwelcome, I'm done. My ex is coming to our party. Be cool, or it's over." The room went silent. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like a jet engine. I looked at her. I really looked at her. I saw the entitlement. I saw the absolute lack of respect for me, for my boundaries, and for the home I provided. She wasn't asking me, she was commanding me. She was banking on the fact that I loved her more than I respected myself. She thought I was so terrified of losing her that I would swallow this disrespect and smile while serving drinks to the guy she used to sleep with. And just like that, the switch flipped. It wasn't a slow burn of anger. It was immediate emotional detachment. It was like looking at a blueprint and realizing the load-bearing wall is missing. You don't argue with the building, you condemn it. "Okay," I said. She blinked, clearly expecting a fight. "Okay?" "I'll be very cool," I promised.
She eyed me for a second, suspicious, but then she smiled, satisfied that she had won the power struggle. She patted my cheek, patronizingly, and went to check her makeup. The party started. Guests rolled in, the music was thumping. I played the role of the gracious host perfectly. I took coats, I poured champagne, I made small talk. But in my head, I was already packing bags. About an hour in, the buzzer rang. I knew. I walked to the door and opened it. There he was, the ex. He was wearing a leather jacket that looked too expensive for a guy who works part-time at a vape shop, and he had that swagger of someone entering territory he thinks he still owns. He looked at me, smirked, and didn't even offer a handshake initially. He just looked past me into my apartment. "Birthday girl around?" he asked. Girlfriend rushing over from the living room, squealing. She literally shoved past me to get to him. She threw her arms around him, a long, tight, intimate hug, right in front of me, right in front of my friends, right in front of her family. "I'm so glad you came," she beamed. He pulled back, kept his arm around her waist for a second too long, and then finally looked at me. He extended a limp hand. "Sup, man? Cool place. Thanks for hosting." I took his hand, I squeezed it hard enough to make him wince just for a second. I looked him dead in the eye, and then I looked at her. "She's all yours, man." My voice was calm, but I projected it enough that the people standing near the entryway stopped talking. Girlfriend laughed, a nervous, jagged sound. "What? Stop joking. Go get him a drink." "I'm not joking," I said. I grabbed my car keys and my wallet from the console table. "You gave me an ultimatum. You said be cool or it's over. I am choosing it's over. This is your party. He is your guest. You guys have a great night." I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. "Wait," she hissed, running after me, her face flushing a deep, angry red. "You can't leave. You paid for all this. You live here. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone." "You embarrassed yourself when you prioritized him over me in my own home," I said quietly. "Enjoy the party. Locking up might be tricky since I'm taking my keys, but I'm sure you'll figure it out." I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove to a high-end hotel downtown. I checked into a suite, ordered a steak sandwich from room service, and turned my phone off. When I turned it back on the next morning, the notifications were endless. 47 missed calls, over 80 texts. Her texts were a roller coaster of manipulation. "Where the hell are you? I'm sorry, come back. You're a narcissist for ruining my night. Everyone is asking where you are. Stop being a baby. I love you. Please let's talk." My friends, however, were on a different wavelength. "Dude, that was legendary. They got into a fight like 20 men after you left."
After you left, because he hit on her cousin. "She's crying in the bathroom. You need to come home." I didn't go home. I needed to assess the structural damage of my life. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank accounts. I had added her as an authorized user on one of my credit cards strictly for household emergencies and groceries. I hadn't looked at the statement in detail for a few weeks because of work. When I scrolled through the transaction history, my blood ran cold. Men's luxury watch store, $450. Ticketmaster, 2 tickets to a concert I didn't know about, $300. A charge for a boutique hotel in the city 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday. I froze. That Tuesday, she had told me she was staying at her mom's place because her mom had the flu and needed help. I called the hotel immediately. I used my firmest, most professional architect dealing with an incompetent contractor voice. I explained I was reviewing charges on my corporate card and needed the folio for tax purposes. They emailed it over. The reservation was under her name. The notes listed a second guest, the ex. She hadn't just invited him to the party, she had been seeing him, and I had been paying for it. The ultimatum wasn't about the party, it was a test. She was testing how much humiliation I would tolerate while she kept him on the side, funded by my paycheck. That Monday morning, I didn't go to work. I went to the courthouse. I researched the laws in my state. Since she had lived with me for 10 months and received mail there, she was technically a tenant at will. I couldn't just throw her clothes on the sidewalk without risking a lawsuit for illegal eviction. I had to do this by the book. I drafted a formal notice to quit, giving her exactly 30 days to vacate the premises.
Then I went to the police station. I filed a report regarding the credit card usage. While she was an authorized user, using the card to purchase luxury gifts for an affair partner and hotel rooms under false pretenses, claiming she was at her mother's, constitutes unauthorized use and theft by deception in my jurisdiction. I wanted the paper trail. I wanted it on record that she was financially exploiting me. I went back to the condo around noon. My key worked. I walked in. The place was a disaster. Red cups everywhere, stale beer smell soaking into the carpet, half-eaten pizza on the coffee table. She was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking miserable. The ex was there too. He was shirtless, eating cereal out of my bowl, sitting in my armchair with his feet up on my coffee table. They both jumped when I walked in. "Finally," she screamed, standing up. "Where have you been? Do you have any idea how worried I was? You abandoned me." The ex smirked, chewing loudly. "Real immature move, bro, walking out on your girl like that." I ignored him entirely. I walked over to the coffee table and dropped a manila envelope in front of her. "What is this?" she asked. "That is a 30-day notice to vacate. You have 1 month to find a new place. Given that your boyfriend here is so comfortable, maybe you can stay with him." She ripped the envelope open, scanning the paper. Her hands started shaking. "You can't kick me out. I live here. This is my home." "It's my property," I corrected. "You are a guest who has overstayed. Legally, you are a tenant at will. That is your legal notice. The clock starts today." I turned to the ex. "You, however, do not live here. You are trespassing. Get out." "Make me," he said, putting the bowl down. He stood up. He was bigger than me, bulky gym muscles versus my lean runner build. He stepped close, trying to intimidate me. "I ain't going nowhere until she says so." "I don't have to make you," I said, not backing down. "I just came from the police station. I filed a report about the credit card theft. I figured since you're wearing the watch she bought with my money," I pointed to the shiny chronograph on his wrist, "you might want to explain to the cops why you're in possession of stolen property." His face dropped. The tough guy act evaporated instantly. He looked at his wrist, then at her. "You said you bought this with your bonus." "I did," she lied, her voice cracking. "He's lying." "I have the statements, girlfriend." I pulled up the screenshot on my phone. "The hotel room, the ticket to concerts, the watch. It's all on my card. I've already flagged the charges as fraudulent." "So, X, you can stay and talk to the officers about conspiracy to commit fraud, or you can leave." The ex didn't hesitate. He grabbed his t-shirt from the floor. "Babe, wait," she screamed, grabbing his arm. "I ain't getting arrested for this crazy drama," he muttered, pulling away from her. He looked at me, hands up. "I didn't know, man. She told me you guys were in an open relationship and you were cool with it." "Get out," I said. He left. She chased him to the door, begging him to stay, but he shook her off and took off down the hallway like the building was on fire. She slammed the door and turned on me, her face twisting from panic to pure, unfiltered rage. "You ruined everything, you petty, controlling jerk. I'm not leaving. You can't make me. I'll squash this eviction. I'll tell everyone you hit me. I'll ruin your career." I pointed to the small black dome in the corner of the ceiling. "There are security cameras in the living room and hallway. They record video to the cloud. You just threatened to file a false police report. That is extortion. Do you really want to add that to the credit card fraud investigation?" She froze. She looked at the camera, then back at me. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She had no leverage. She had no power here. "I loved you," she tried, the tears tactic now. "I made a mistake. I was confused. He manipulated me." "I told you to be cool. I'm being cool. You have 30 days. But honestly, if I were you, I'd leave sooner, because I'm cutting the internet today. I'm changing the Wi-Fi password. I'm taking the TV out of the living room because it's mine. And I'm going to be doing heavy renovation work starting tomorrow. Loud work." "You're a monster," she spat. "I'm a landlord, and you're a bad tenant." The next 30 days were a war of attrition. I stayed at my brother's place for the first few nights, but I realized I needed to be present to protect my property. I moved back into the guest room and installed a heavy-duty lock on the door. She tried every dirty trick in the book. Day 4, she called the police while I was at work, claiming I had locked her out illegally. The officer called me. I explained she had lost her key. She hadn't. She just wanted me to come home. I drove over, unlocked the door, and showed the officer the eviction notice and the lease deed. The officer told her to stop wasting resources.
A ghost. Day 15. She decided to hit my wallet. She stopped buying food, stopped cleaning, and cranked the thermostat up to 90 degrees while leaving the windows open. She turned on every light in the house and left them on 24/7. I couldn't cut the power. That's considered a self-help eviction and is illegal. But I could install a commercial-grade lockbox on the thermostat that only I had the code to. I set it to a brisk 68 degrees. I also removed all the light bulbs from the common areas except for one dim lamp in the hallway. She tried to turn our mutual friends against me. She spun a story that I was abusive and threw her out on the street for no reason. My phone blew up for days. I didn't engage. I just sent a single screenshot to the group chat, the credit card statement showing the hotel room booked for 2 with the ex. The group chat went silent. One by one, they started apologizing to me. The psychological warfare was intense. She would bring random people over to party at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I called the cops for noise complaints on my own unit. I documented every single violation. I sent her itemized invoices for the fines, deducting them from her security deposit, which she had thankfully paid when she moved in because I am rigid about paperwork. Finally, on day 29, the moving truck showed up. It wasn't a professional company. It was a beat-up U-Haul driven by her dad. Her dad is a decent guy, old school. He looked ashamed. He refused to look me in the eye when he came in to grab her boxes. He knew. I stood by the door holding a clipboard. "I'm doing a final walkthrough before you hand over the keys," I told her. "Just let me leave," she said. She looked tired. Her glow was gone. She hadn't been wearing makeup for weeks. Not until we assessed damages. I walked through the rooms. The place was dirty, but mostly intact. Until I got to the guest bedroom. She had keyed the word asshole into the hardwood floor. It was deep. I took a picture of it. "That's going to cost about $1,200 to sand and refinish," I noted, writing it down. "There goes the rest of your deposit, and you'll likely owe me about $400 on top of that." "I hate you," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't think about you at all," I replied. Her dad paused at the door, holding a box of her shoes. He looked at the floor, saw the carving, and sighed. He looked at me. "She told us you cheated on you." "I invited her ex to my house, charged a hotel room for him on my credit card, and told me to get over it," I said simply. "Ask her about the watch, sir." Her dad looked at her. She looked away, biting her lip. He shook his head, the disappointment radiating off him like heat waves. "Get in the truck," he told her. She followed him out. She didn't look back. I changed the locks 10 minutes later. I sat on my floor, exhausted, but feeling lighter than I had in months. The aftermath wasn't instantaneous peace. I had to deal with the credit card company. Because I had authorized her as a user, they initially didn't want to refund the charges. I had to file a sworn affidavit of fraud, stating that the charges were unauthorized and constituted theft. This triggered an investigation. Because of the affidavit and the police report, the credit card company went after her. It's been 3 months, and she called me last week from a new number. "Please drop the fraud case," she begged. She sounded desperate. "I can't get an apartment. My credit score tanked because the card company sent the debt to collections in my name. They're talking about civil litigation. I can't afford a lawyer." "You spent $3,000 of my money on another man," you said. "You made your choice." "I'll pay you back. Just stop them." "It's out of my hands," I said. "You can pay the court. Be cool." I hung up and blocked the number. I ran into a mutual friend yesterday. Apparently, she is living in her parents' basement. The ex, he ghosted her the moment the free money dried up and he realized she came with legal baggage. She is working double shifts at a diner to pay off the legal fees and the restitution she owes me for the floor and the stolen funds. I realized something through all this. I used to think relationships were about compromise, about bending so you don't break. But some things aren't meant to bend. Respect isn't a negotiation. Loyalty
isn't a variable. She wanted a party, she got one, but she forgot the golden rule of hosting. Eventually, the guests have to leave and the owner takes back his house. The silence in my apartment used to feel lonely. Now, it feels like victory. TLDR, girlfriend told me to accept her ex at her birthday party or break up. I broke up with her on the spot, evicted her, and let the legal system run her over for credit card fraud. If you enjoyed watching a gold digger face the legal consequences of her actions, subscribe for more stories about backbone reconstruction and architectural revenge.